I figured out where my asset and my elbows were, and I started to get smarter. And it was like I was born again. It really had this like dramatic, transformative effect on me. Like, wait a minute, you charge more than it costs and you make your own money. It was like, but I didn't learn that. I didn't learn it in college. I didn't learn it, in my whole life. It never connected with me. So once I learned it, I started preaching. I was trying to get my friends in on it. And I'll tell you, early on, all I got was criticism from my fellow contractors. You're going
You
to
bet.
ruin the industry. You're going to price yourself out of the market. You're giving plumbers a bad rep. I got no love early on.
Why were they
But
reacting that way?
Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop.
Alan, it's good to be back in studio. Get ready to rock and roll, everybody. Put up those windows so you can hear this. Turn up that volume because this is going to get big. This is big time today, baby. It's going to be on YouTube. If you can't see it, we have the infamous Ellen Rohr, Home Service Institute. And she's just amazing. I was trying to come up with all these alliterations, but she is just the best. She's rock'em sock'em. Anybody who's in home services who knows Ellen Rohr knows that this lady it's not just a lady, man. I mean, she's a vibe. She's a presence.
She's an entity.
She is an entity. Rock dog, breaking it down, man. People
I am
wanna
not
be
going to
here.
interrupt you. You keep going. Go.
So,
Love
Ellen,
all
we've
of
never
it.
met,
Hey,
but
you
I
know
already,
what?
I already know you're a big deal because normally we talk about what Chris has done the last week or so whenever we podcast, and it's always this amazing stuff.
Well,
And,
we might have to talk about that for just a sec.
oh, okay.
Yeah, because
Yes.
yes.
So go ahead and ask me what I've been doing.
All right, what have you been doing?
I know you're not that interested in
Right.
it, so tell me what you're doing.
Thank God I just said that.
Okay.
So check this out. A couple weeks ago, my son, who's going to be going to Baylor for law school,
Yes.
we flew into Dallas on the Georgia-Texas football weekend.
Oh, my.
I know,
Yeah.
but I didn't go. But I flew in. We went down to Baylor, checked out Waco. I was actually, if you've never been to Waco, Texas, which is owned by Magnolia now and Chip and Joanna Gaines, but the Baylor campus, I was there, and I'm looking at this incredibly huge facility. I'm like, oh, that's where they play basketball because they're really good. And I turn around, I'm like, hey, that says Welcome Center. Then I turn around, and there's the basketball stadium who dwarfs the Welcome Center that dwarfed Chris. This Welcome Center is the biggest thing you've ever seen.
It's Texas.
Dude, it was Texas. You saw some Texas-style
Yeah.
flags. So we went all the way there.
Well, and Waco is also the home of Neighborly.
That's right. Neighborly's
Big
there, too.
franchise. Yeah, Neighborly's in Waco.
Whoa.
Mhm.
I should have called in
But
on
finish
that.
your story. There's
Oh, no.
that's everything's bigger in Texas. That's true.
Everything's bigger in Texas. So I get back here, start talking to my buddies. I'm like, they're like, oh, so you had some brisket? You had some barbecue? I said, well, no, as a matter of fact, I had sushi.
What?
I know. My wife's not a meat eater. And we met up with our friends in Dallas, and they're like, oh, we have this incredible sushi place. And I went, oh, okay. So
You got called a Yankee, didn't you?
actually I did get somebody did ask me if I was Canadian as I was talking, and they go, so where are you from? Are you from Canada? I said no, but I did go to school north of where most Canadians live, so I got that going for me.
I wonder how many people on the earth have ever said, hey, I went to Texas and had their sushi.
No, I'm on it. I'm breaking ground here. So then what do? I get back and I go to our beloved Atlanta Falcons playing the Seahawks, right? And they go in there and lay an absolute egg.
I remember
And
texting you, I hope you're not at today's game. And it was a lot of
There-
expletives deleted.
Yeah, we don't have those on the podcast as much anymore, but there are a lot of F's in there. Yeah. So then they went down there and took care of the Buccaneers. So now I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go to the Dallas game that's coming up. But that is the life right now that I'm leading. Is we just implemented a CRM system, so those are my little joys of fun that I got in the middle of it. But when you implement a new CRM system, and we'll probably have to talk about that, especially with Ellen about this, man, it has
Well,
been a 9-month
have you
problem.
noticed that?
I've heard of this because I
Oh,
want to hear
well,
about
yeah,
the new deal.
that's going to happen.
What is that?
That's Service Titan.
Who's
Oh.
your CRM?
So I just switched to FieldPulse. So I
Oh.
did talk with Service Titan. They told me I was too small. I'm like, huh, I did not
Mm.
realize
Did
a
you
$6 million
say, hey,
company.
I'm kind of a big deal?
I was like, I got a podcast and everything.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, top 5%.
yeah, and I know Ellen, who I know has ended.
You dropped her name, right?
I didn't actually,
Oh,
because
that was
I
your
talked to
mistake.
one of their original people, and they're like, "What do you do?" I said, "Well, I have a handyman, a remodeling business." Like, I don't think it's a good fit for us. I said, "Oh, okay. Well, let's go look at somebody else then."
That was getting to the no quickly, right?
So they did quick.
They sandlered you.
Yeah, they did give me. They
We
sanded
have
me
a
hard.
we have a question about that. We have a question about that we can address this later. Yeah, and I one of the things I do is I work with Service Titan, and I love Service Titan. I'm a Service Titan customer for a long time, and Service Titan wants to be sure that their product is a good fit, as you would do as you're working with a customer. But I've got some tips on CRMs of all shapes and stripes, so we can talk about that for sure.
There's going to be a lot of nuggets, tips, and you're going to have to just hold on because there's going to be so many great things. Ellen, I think for a lot
Yeah.
of our listeners, I don't know if they necessarily know everything, but I've heard the story. Why don't you give us the short story of how you saved your husband's business?
Have you actually introduced her?
Oh, she froze. Did I freeze? She froze.
She froze.
Oh no. All right, like I was saying, Ellen, before you so rudely froze Ellen, I don't know what you did, but you cast like this little spell on the screen.
Yeah, but she looked good even frozen. Like
I know.
If I got frozen, it would be like all nostrils and it would be nasty.
Yeah, with daggers coming out and the
Yeah.
fangs. All right, let's get into this. So, as with everything in the world, when technology is awesome, technology is awesome. When it's not, it sucks.
It does
But-
suck.
Ah,
Have you introduced our guest yet?
No. All right, we have. Wow, there's so many things to introduce. So let's. I just don't know if I can, but I will.
You're
Ellen
so
Rohr.
excited.
I am.
Deep breaths. Deep breaths. Deep
All right.
breaths.
So Ellen Rohr started not in the business, but she was watching the business happen in a very close and personal situation as she watched her husband run his plumbing business, and she wanted to know where all the money was. This sounds familiar. I might be having that same problem 16 years into it. Well, where's all the money going? So she saw that and she said, I think I can help him out. And his name is so flipping cool. You can't forget it. It is, Ellen,
Hot Rod.
Hot Rod.
Hot Rod.
Hot Rod.
So cool.
Mhm.
I'm going to change my name. Can you start?
Hot Ellen?
Can
No.
Can you start with where she is now, and
All
then
right.
we can go back.
So let's start. All right. So today, Ellen, you're in Zoom Drain as an operator, or do you actually own a couple of the franchises?
I am a founder and a board member and an investor in the franchisor.
She's the grand
So
poobah,
I
Chris.
don't own
I know.
individual franchises. I'm part owner of the company-owned store and the franchisor. So that we have 60 locations now, and it's why I color my hair. And I absolutely love it. But on the day-to-day, I also work with Service Titan as their brand and industry marketing lead, heading up a brand ambassador program that I'm very excited about. So
that's
I got
that's a
all
new
sorts of
role
things.
for you, right?
I've been a Service Titan customer for a long time. I love Service Titan, and I thought I could do some good for Zoom Drain from within the Service Titan world just by learning how to use it better, just as a regular customer. But also, I like to shed a light on cool people in this industry. I absolutely love the trades. I love people who fix things, and as my position is primarily to introduce new voices and up and coming people, as well as old salts within our industry who are big personalities with a point of view like you guys. So I'm really happy to be here. That's my primary job
Look
at
at
Service.
Chris just got bigger. when
I
you
just
said
got
that.
bigger. You know what? I'm in the small
Yeah.
chair, Ellen. I got to get pumped up. I don't care if you're 6'8" or not.
But that isn't even the half of it. She started a venture capital firm. She's written books.
Go.
She's been on TV on every network you can possibly name. I mean,
I didn't go to
Ellen, I
the-
want to know, what does Chris have over on you to get you on our podcast? I mean,
Oh, you guys I love it. And I also have like a big diva complex. So I love all of this flattery. But what happens is you just live long enough. And I'm just the kind of person, and maybe you can relate to this too. If there's something I need to learn, I will crawl across cut glass to find people who know something about that. So I've been to thousands of shops probably in my life at this point. I've looked at, all sorts of financial reports. I've dug into the, weeds with all kinds of contractors of all stripes in an effort to learn what makes a successful business and how can I adopt that myself, as well as share that with people with whom I work, either as a client or as as a podcaster myself or as a franchisor. I'm interested in the basics, the few things that really matter. And I like to hear different people's take on that and how they were successful and what they've avoided and what interesting stories and scars they have from the mistakes they've made.
Ellen, I got to thank you right now. You finally just described Chris perfectly for me.
Yeah, right.
Big
And
diva
we're
complex.
not alone.
Big diva complex.
Big
I've
diva
got one,
complex.
buddy. There's no doubt about it. That's right. He's lucky I even let him go on screen today, everybody. If you're going to go out to the YouTube, don't forget to check out our YouTube channel.
I know
Small
he
Business
actually,
Safari.
I don't know what, like if you change your meds or what, he's like, hey, I need to get you in the screen. Because normally he really doesn't care about that.
No, I
much.
usually you only get like half of Alan's head. In there. And he's like, wait, can I say something?
And then Chris will be
You guys are
he'll
fun.
twist his cup a little bit, and I'm like, okay, I'll pour you another drink. And
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you've got like beer pong going on over
Well,
there.
Well, actually, we're drinking
bourbon.
we're drinking bourbon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Okay,
in
that's
we're in
fair.
this we're in the South.
We got to unlock our creative juices, buddy. So that's what we do. We got to have a little bourbon, drink it up, and then he
Talk a little
also
business.
and don't forget to tell me that hey, my bike sounds a little low, and then I'll act like I'm moving something, and I'll just turn it down lower. No, you can't do that. That's horrible.
You guys
can't
are fun.
All right. So, Ellen, you this brand ambassador position, this sounds really cool. So this allows you the opportunity to go out and meet with other people. Tell us what you've been doing with that.
Do you have what it takes to start your own business? Are you tired of the 9-to-5 corporate job and ready to make that leap into entrepreneurship? You need to check out From the Zoo to the Wild, the book by successful entrepreneur Chris Lalomia. This book is a unique perspective on the journey into the wild world of home services and delivering excellence in service while working in customers' homes. Lalomia shares his path to success in this industry, including proven customer relationship strategies, award-winning customer experience processes, and a unique approach to training a team of service technicians to perform at the highest levels. Whether you're a small business trying to scale or a franchise operation, From the Zoo to the Wild will give you the mindset, habits, leadership style, and customer-oriented processes to succeed as a small business owner in the world of home services. So if you're ready to take control of your future, get a copy of From the Zoo to the Wild today, available on Amazon.
Well, what Red Bull is to extreme sports, Service Titan intends to be to tradespeople.
Wow.
We're going to hold your beer. We're going to shine a spotlight. We're going to create experiences and energy towards people who, again, have a big personality and have a point of view and represent the trades. I love tradespeople. And I started with, that love began when I met my husband. First
Hot
off, his
rod.
name's Rod, so I married him. But then, as I got to know him, he's a plumber. But as a kid growing up, we called people. My dad wasn't handy. We needed something. We called somebody, they came, and I just thought it was a miracle. Didn't work, works now. Didn't even think about it. And then I got to know Hot Rod and his cool friends. And as someone who doesn't have any skills whatsoever, I always say if I were on that TV show Survivor, I would just die. I would sit there until I died. There would be no activity whatsoever because I don't know how to do these things. But because of Hot Rod and his cool friends, I developed this deep appreciation for people who are so competent in the material world, who can keep good water from bad water and prevent more disease than doctors have ever cured, like the plumbers and the drain cleaners, who create weather and remodeling. Like, you keep us protected from the outside world. I mean, tradespeople promote survivability of mankind on the planet. Like, none of this is lost on me. I'm dazzled by it every day. And so starting with Hot Rod and then just through every phase of my life, a big motivator for me has been to shine a light on these awesome people and the trades in general, and then help them make more money. Like
That's
just
right.
like they deserve to make a lot of money. So that's definitely been a thread through everything that I've done.
You know, I'm not a very excitable person. I'm excited now.
See,
I know.
Good.
I know you are
Good,
actually.
good.
We need cool names like Hot Rod. Do his friends have cool names too?
The name of their company, it's interestingly, once upon a time, Hot Rod and his best friend Yox created Hot Rod and Yox Plumbing, Heating, and Solar back in the 1970s. Now, we sold our company in
That is so
1995,
badass.
and the guys still operate under Hot Rod and Yox, and it makes me very proud. I love
Oh
them.
my gosh, that's
But yeah,
wild.
there's nicknames are good. I like nicknames.
All right, so you guys obviously you sold in '95. That became a pivot point for you and your fam, and that's
Yeah.
when you started to branch out. I know you got into Zoom Drain. Actually, more recently. What'd you do right after that?
Well, and I think it's important to know it's like a couple of the milestones, just like, how I got to here is when we were working together. My husband's partner, Yox, died at 33, worked himself into a
Oh,
health
good
crisis
Lord.
and died. It was terrible. And then that's when I raised my hand and said, I'll quit my real job. I'll come work with you. I'll count the money. We'll get rich. You turn wrenches. None of that happened. All we did was fight. And it was really, really stressful and not an uncommon tale among mom pop shops. So
What'd you
what
fight
happened
about?
is money,
Okay.
Yeah, it's easy, right?
money.
Yeah, wow. But
Yeah, because
not me.
here's what happens though, is that I would say we don't have enough money, and he would hear I'm not good enough.
Oh,
That's what I
Do
hear.
you see what I mean?
I mean,
It's so stressful.
hypothetically,
business and marriage counseling all in one bundle.
you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Well,
you're right.
and so and that's when you said what happened next, that's pretty pivotal. But so what happened is I found Frank Blau, my first mentor, in the pages of a plumbing trade magazine. Now we have blogs and podcasts and websites and YouTube channels and all sorts of way to get information. But once upon a time, it was the trade magazines, and they're still relevant because smart people will write a column or be interviewed. This is what kind of set me on the path. And Frank was the one who taught me. I wrote him a letter. He helped me out. It's a funny story overall, but basically he hit me with a brick, Frank Blau, and just said, you're a knucklehead, close your business. You don't know what you're doing. Unless you figure out the financials, the balance sheet and the profit and loss, you don't have a hope. And so I did. I figured out where my asset and my elbows were, and I started to get smarter. And it was like I was born again. It really had this like dramatic, transformative effect on me. Like, wait a minute, you charge more than it costs and you make your own money. It was like, but I didn't learn that. I didn't learn it in college. I didn't learn it, in my whole life. It never connected with me. So once I learned it, I started preaching. I was trying to get my friends in on it. And I'll tell you, early on, all I got was criticism from my fellow contractors. You're going
You
to
bet.
ruin the industry. You're going to price yourself out of the market. You're giving plumbers a bad rep. I got no love early on.
Why were they
But,
reacting that way?
well, Frank Blau says, and I agree with him, that it's a self-esteem issue. That there are a lot of people in our lives who are going to wear a patch instead of a tie, and they're not going to feel like they deserve now $400, $500, $600 an hour baked into your flat rate price or whatever. But because I never had that perspective, because as someone who was ultimately like a customer who didn't know how to do these things, I'm like, don't you want the good stuff? Don't you want people who know what they're doing, who are trained, who show up clean, sober, on time, dressed right, use a checklist? Don't you want those people to come to your house? Don't we want to be those people? Like, from my perspective, always as like a consumer, I didn't get it. But over the years, I found that that's really the biggest issue. One of the things, I'm going to jump around here a little bit, but one of the things that I'll ask kids who come on board at Zoom Drain, I'll ask them, did you tell your mom you're going to be a drain cleaner? Yeah. What did she say? Was she happy about that? No.
No.
And then, you can start the conversation. Well, you might want to share with your mom that drain cleaners keep good water from bad water. It is the essential service that provides survivability of mankind on the planet. 70% of the world doesn't have adequate sanitation, and they deal with diseases like, E. coli and diphtheria and all sorts of things that are going to kill them. And this is an honorable profession. You can make a lot of money. You can work anywhere in the world. 30% of the world poops on the ground. That's how essential these services are. And we're going to help you become a first-rate professional drain cleaner. Tell her that.
So I think that's going to be the title of our podcast. Don't be like 30% of the world. Don't poop yourself. You got to run your business the right
30%
way.
of the world poops on the ground. I need like a heat map just so I know where to not go.
Because Alan's going to retire soon. And he's like, I want to travel the world, but I want to travel not where those 30%
in the
are.
not poop zone.
So
No
It's,
poop zone.
I think like you don't realize these things, right? And then look at electricians. They wrangle lightning, and HVAC guys create weather. Like, air conditioning didn't even, exist until the 1950s. And
Right.
now it's an essential thing. And what happens is tradespeople overall are so good at what they do that society and lack of self-esteem on the part of the contractors have led people to believe that these are somehow God-given rights, and they are not. So like this has just been my path, is that starting with Hot Rod, starting with our business, I'm like, why aren't we charging a lot of money? These guys are putting it out there every day and we're not making it. I'm going to raise my prices or I'm going to go out of business. And I thought if I raised my prices, going back to the 1990s when I was figuring this out, I thought no one would call anyway. But I was so sick and tired of how we would live. We're living, of Hot Rod going out every Christmas, of just round the clock, of just all the stress, our guys not making enough money, all the the brutal parts of being an entrepreneur without any of the reward. Thank you. I was okay with doing something else, but I figured, well, let's try this. Frank Blau recommends that I quintuple my prices. Let's try it. See if anybody calls.
Hear that
And
number,
as
Alan?
it so happened,
Hey, so by the way, Ellen, I just want to go on record now, Chris. I already called you today before your prices quintupled,
Right.
to come
Yeah.
over and do something
What?
at my house. Yes.
Oh, no, it's
I want-
quintupled.
No,
I'm sorry.
no.
I'm sorry. That estimate only lasted 30 seconds.
Quintupled is a lot.
That pricing was only
it
for
is a
30
lot.
seconds. That is a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Ellen,
at the time, it was
I'm
like going
master's
from like
mechanical
30 to
engineer. Oh, yeah.
150. Yeah,
You
you
went
might
from
not
30
have
to
to
150?
quintuple them. Yeah, but I mean, at the time, we were charging like $30 an hour. Why? Because our competitors were charging 35.
Wow.
Because that's what it was just knucklehead. Every dumb thing I make fun of people about, I've done. So what happened is I did it like a little break even. We went to 112.50. I remember that was my first, like, oh my God, the sphincter tightening over $100 an hour. When the rest of my community was charging $35 an hour and they were charging time and material. I mean, like going back, you guys are much too young for this, but that move to
she's my
flat
favorite.
rate was the big deal. That was like what separated the folks who were ready to do this professionally from those who were just like not having it. And most people were not having it. And it was a few people like Frank Blau, like George Brazil, like, Contractors 2000, once upon a time, now they're called Nexstar, was really influential in creating a lot of smart business people and raising the esteem of the contractor. So they did a lot of good, and I was part of all that, which was neat. But here's what happened. Once we turned our little company around, we didn't go out of business. We just made more money. We got out of debt, and I'm starting to go, oh my God, this is so exciting. Let's go. We were at 4 trucks. Let's go to 8 trucks. We were in Park City, Utah. Let's tackle the Salt Lake Valley. Like I had plans. And then I went to my husband, Hot Rod, the plumber, and said, well, what do you want to do now? And he said, I want to work all by myself, which meant
Do not grow.
Which
Do not
meant-
make me deal with morons.
right. But what's important, and then when you said like what happened next,
Mr.
what's
Subliminal.
important is you get to do what you want. In fact, you have a responsibility to do what you want in life. That's how I feel. And he didn't want to work with me, and I don't blame him. Now, like at the time, it was really traumatic, but it was his business, and there are a lot of people who are technicians who don't want to grow, and they don't love the employee responsibility and would rather, turn wrenches. And there is a way to make money as a solopreneur out there. And that's really who he is. So I wish I'd learned this lesson earlier in my marriage. But I started to understand that my husband wasn't going to do what I wanted him to do. I couldn't change him. It was none of my business what he wanted to do, other than the fact of deciding if we could live together and work separately. But you get
Can
what
you
I'm
call our
saying?
wives, Ellen?
Yeah,
I
can
know, right?
I'm actually.
Now I
This thing is,
relapse.
not that my wife has ever listened to this podcast in
Mine does.
3 years.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, she's not.
What?
She's been on a streak lately.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
don't remember what I've said.
But
now,
you know,
Barbara.
on my best
It's all good.
days,
Okay, good.
and my best days, I try not to tell people what to do. Now, as a consultant, that's tricky. Like, so then, you know, as we decide, okay, you get to be who you want, and then I have to think, okay, now what am I going to do? Because my whole game plan had been if I could only get Hot Rod to do what I want him to do. Oh, isn't that horrible? Even as I say it, it makes me kind of sick.
Yeah. I mean,
But
yeah, yes,
some family businesses work great together. We just didn't, and because his vision was different from mine. Neither of us were wrong, but it was his company. We decided to sell the company to our employees. Hot Rod went off to start a couple of solopreneur businesses that rocked it. And that left me with this like soul searching moment of like, okay, now what am I going to do? But what I knew is I wanted to see if I had the chops to run a bigger company. I knew that. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why, but that was like a burning desire. And I didn't know how it was going to work because the one vehicle that I had that I thought we were going to use to do that now was no longer at my disposal. So what I did is I went through some soul searching. I encouraged people to go through midlife crises. We moved to Missouri. We bought a farm. I started taking classes and reading books. Mark Victor Hansen said to me when I went to one of his seminars once, he's the Chicken Soup for the Soul guy. He said, oh, if you don't know your purpose is to find it. And I thought, okay, I'm looking, I'm searching. And I knew I wanted to be in business. I knew I wanted to grow, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. So I started writing for the magazines. I wrote my books. Where did the money go? How much should I charge? The bare bones biz plan, the weekend biz plan. I've written 4 books and I wrote them during this time because this was the information that had turned our company around. I wanted to share with other mom and pop shops. And I did. I started consulting and speaking and writing. And then one day I was doing a seminar. And at the end of the seminar, Jim Abrams, who was the principal investor at Venvest, which became Clockworks, which then became Authority Brands, right? He comes up to me and he says, how would you like to run the country's largest home service company? And I said, yes. And that was what became Benjamin Franklin, the punctual plumber. Now, here's the point of that. Like, I just said yes, being 100% unqualified to do that. Okay, the largest company I'd run was with Hot Rod, a 4-truck outfit, but it was aligned with whatever this itch was that I had to scratch. You see where I'm going?
Oh, yeah.
So the point when you said what happened next is like, ask yourself these questions. What do I want to do? Why do I want to do it? Be willing to have those really vulnerable conversations, read the books, takes the classes, a book recommend, Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. Like, what is it that you're willing to fail for, but that you have to explore in your own life? And that was something I wanted to do. And so I got the opportunity to work with them, and it was brutal. I have scars to show for it. I made a zillion mistakes. However, Benjamin Franklin, once we started, I was employee number 1. We grew to 47 locations in under 2 years, and then that got packaged up with part of Authority Brands. Now, I left after 3 years, and and I'll tell you about that in a second. But the idea was, it gave me this opportunity to scratch that itch. I learned so much in those 3 years about, keeping it simple, focusing on the basics. You will fail every day massively. What is 1 or 2 things you can do each day that is aligned with the overall game plan? How do you take it like a duck? How do you take the arrows? One of the things I learned about being a leader is, and this, is like, maybe your primary job is just to take the arrows.
That was my job in corporate America. Take the arrows, baby. I took a lot of them.
Take the arrows. And that's a big job. Like, that's a legit job. And so I learned all that. I learned so much then. And then, this whole time visiting contractors, selling franchises, I learned a lot about sales, about people, about personality, mapping, motivational mapping, leadership styles, project management, all of that was kind of rolled into it. Now, when we were in about 3 years, I remember Jim Abrams said to me, I hope he hears this. He says, okay, well, here we are. I didn't think you'd make it. It's his opening line, but here we are.
How do you really
So,
feel?
yeah. And he says, so now all of the presidents of the organizations that were in the investment company, all of them are moving to Sarasota. And it dawned on me then, I wasn't happy with with a lot of what I was dealing with in that position. And I thought, first off, if I went to Florida, I thought, I don't think I'm going to like it. And secondly, my dad had dementia. He lived with us on our property. I just wasn't going to move. But here's a really important part. Once you figure out how to make money, someone could take all my money away from me and I'd sell something to somebody and I'd be back in business tomorrow. Like, my confidence in understanding how business worked had solidified.
That's a great point right there.
And we need to talk more about that.
Because you have that confidence, and sometimes we run in fear saying, I'm going to stay in this lane that maybe I'm not in. And then when I fail, I can't get back on my feet and get back up again.
But what does it mean to learn how to make money?
All right.
Sell stuff for more than it costs.
So I've watched some of your videos and you say it, and everybody knows that. So is the problem people don't know what their cost basis is, or are they afraid?
A lot of the time.
Okay. Or is it
time, like they, so what are the three main, I'm so glad we're talking about this. So what is,
are you saying that was a good question, Ellen?
What? It's such a good question.
Thanks.
It's such a good
Ellen, we're a little competitive here, and
it's 1-0.
And I'm now losing 1-0. All right, let's answer the question.
This takes us on now currently. I mean, just to catch up. So then I left Benjamin Franklin, super proud of what it's become. I think there's 500 million units, authority brands. It's sold a couple times, made a lot of people a lot of money. I learned a lot. And then I started Zoom Drain like 15 years later. In the meantime, consulting. Consulting is a great business. It's a lot of fun. You can't tell people what to do, but you may be able to educate and magnetize. I had some wins and losses there. But I had so much experience. And then we started Zoom Drain. I love Zoom Drain. I started it with my best friends, Al Levy and Jim Crenity, and I'm still on the board. I'm one of the founders, and we continue to grow. And now I have this awesome opportunity to talk to you guys and to represent with Service Titan as well. That's my story. That's where I am, with a zillion subsets in the meantime. But here's what I know about business. Every business exists for one reason. You may have your own personal whys and missions and purposes in life, but the business itself exists only to increase in enterprise value. That is the purpose of every business. That the business has to survive is the primary goal, purpose, why of the actual business.
Self-preservation. Yeah.
It has to exist, right? So self-preservation, it has to exist, and it does that by increasing in enterprise value. So how do you increase in enterprise value? There are three main KPIs for any business: sales, profit, and cash. Business is not complicated. Okay, now there's a lot of ways to do business, but every business needs enough in sales, and the priority of them. Suppose you're starting from scratch. The priority of them are sales. Sell something to somebody and get some fuel. All right? And then profit is next. Sell stuff for more than it costs. And to your point, Alan, if you don't know, you're going to make that mistake. When I first started figuring out a balance sheet and the profit and loss, it was sickening. I can still feel my stomach hurt when I realized we've just been losing money for years. And if you do that mathematically, you have to go into debt. So debt's going up, and people, our supply house is loaning us money. We've got stuff on credit cards. Like, you can go into debt for a long time in this great country, right? That we have a debt problem. So first is sales. Second is then you got to get profitable. And the third is that profit has to be taken in cash and be big enough to pay down whatever debt you've incurred and then provide survivability for this entity. So when you do this well, you create sales and profits and cash, your enterprise can increase in value. And if you do it well enough, put systems in place, provide services that people love, create a great brand, this entity now could run without you. And you could actually sell that entity for multiples of earnings you haven't even achieved yet. Okay, so that's really the overall game. Right now, how you choose to do it, like Hot Rod, like he wanted to be a solo entrepreneur, and this was we go to Missouri, we buy a farm in Missouri, like we just totally go middle-aged crazy. We go to Missouri, buy a farm, and Hot Rod starts a radiant heat business in Rogersville, Missouri, population like 1,000. I think the three of us put it over 1,000 when we moved there. And his mission was to work for people he liked on projects that were interesting. He was going to charge a lot of money and get in line. If you want to work with me, get in line. I can only do so much. I'm going to work for people who appreciate what I do, projects I like, people who are in, people I like on projects that are interesting. And he crushed it. So like, there's a lot of ways to do this. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, how am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? And it was then, I'll write the books. I'll help other people. I don't know. I'll trust in my higher power to find some opportunity for me. And what I found is that if you are really, really clear on what you want, then opportunities come from the right or the left you never saw come in. And that's been evidenced. Oh, I'm going to cry. Over and over again in my life, that has been my experience. That just somebody or something shows up that I wouldn't have even planned. If you're clear on what you want and you're willing to take some action in that direction, I believe intention trumps action all day long.
Oh, that's a great one. Intention, action. I love that one. The intention. You mentioned people getting in your life at a certain time, but you got to be willing to open up and receive that, right? I think that's a hard part for a lot of us.
I just had a conversation today with a guy I didn't know very well. I don't do consulting anymore. I'm busy. But I'll give somebody a hand, if they call, if I know them, we have some kind of relationship. And this fellow whom I really like, I know through Service Titan, reached out today and had a question. And I said, well, I'm free for 15 minutes. Let's get on the phone. And I asked him, he gets on a Zoom call and there's like 8 of them around a big table at his office. Whoa, okay, what do you got? And they were just talking about their like financial situation. And I said, well, tell me what you do. And they went around the room and they were so open and vulnerable that I said, you know what? I was really prepared to just give you guys something pithy and just punch out right now. But because you were so open about it, let's spend a minute. And so we stayed on the phone for about a half an hour. They're smart people. They just needed a little help, a little reassurance. But to your point, like you just have to be vulnerable and get real. That's why, it's a question for later on my list that you sent me. But like, I think one of my favorite books is, it's Brene Brown. And is it Daring Greatly? Is that the name of it? I think it's Daring Greatly.
You mentioned that one earlier, the Daring Greatly.
Yeah.
That's the one I know the best of her.
Yeah. And she talks about vulnerability a lot. And it's funny because a lot of these, in our industry, we have so much macho and there's a lot of guys who won't, they're always talking about how big their selling price is, how big their companies are, how many KPIs they have, how many blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of that, but there's also an increasingly vulnerable portion of the population of our industries that are willing to get real and ask for help and share information and not have it all figured out. And I think that comes with an increase in self-esteem that, I can open up a little bit and I'm still going to be okay. So that is really important. And that's what I'm looking for in my life. Let's just be real with each other. We're all making mistakes. We all make bad choices. We all have scars. That's where the stories come from and the songs are written and all of that. And there are ways to turn this business around. So like if you consider that this business with its purpose of increasing in value and the 3 main KPIs, that business is just like a car and it's not you, and its failure or survival does not reflect on you as a human being. But it is a car, especially if you have the car, you might want to fix the car, improve the car, update it. Maybe you could get another car. You could sell this car. You keep one, sell one. You could have a whole garage full of cars at different phases of, construction. And that can be really fun. And as my friend Howard Partridge says, your company is a vehicle to drive you in the direction of your dreams. These cars are supposed to provide fuel for your life, to give off cash so that you can also, from this business, take some of that money out and give it to your family and your team members and your community. So understanding that also helps you be a little less fearful, to your point, about the decisions you make with your company. The company could fail. That's all right. There's another car. There's another opportunity. It's not a reflection on me as a human being, but I might have to make some challenging choices because right now the company is not increasing in sales or profits or cash, and I got to fix that.
That's a great point. The multiple vehicles. Sorry, so you hit that. Actually, you and I have talked about this in the past about buy one, have one, and potentially if you have the bandwidth, if you have the capacity to be able to run multiple companies at the same time, what have you seen with the multiple company running? So many of the people who listen are either trying to start one and scale one, but sometimes we get presented opportunities to get involved in another business. Tell us a little bit about how you would do that, and what do you think the best structure you've seen?
Oh, it's a good question. It's one to
Yeah,
one.
baby, we're 1-1.
It's
Let's go.
1-to-1. Okay, so first off, I will it's a good idea as a consultant or as a friend to ask questions. So instead of answering that question, I would come back with, well, what's your favorite part of the business that you have now? What do you love about it? What do you not like about it? Is it fixable? Is it worth it to you? If you could snap your fingers and have this business go away, would you? I have a friend whose business was spared in that tornado that hit Joplin maybe 10 plus years ago, devastated the town and missed her business. And she told me, I so wanted it to take my business to the ground.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's kind of or I know people who are, some of them say it, some of them think it, are just waiting for their dad to die so they can finally take over.
Oh, that's another bad one.
Isn't
Ooh,
that, I mean, do you see what I mean?
Wow.
None of that has to happen. You could just say, I don't want to do it anymore.
were most of the people Italian? I just kidding. Sorry, I happen to be an Italian guy.
I have heard it said out loud, but I do know more people who've actually thought it. But and I get to where you would get there. You feel stuck, you feel like there's no options, but there are options. You have choices. There's ways to you could fix it or sell it or abandon it or walk away or break it up and try and mitigate the losses. I mean, this is a country that rewards entrepreneurialism and second chances. There is the opportunity for most people to be able to bounce back from that. And I'm not trying to discount the tragedy of what happens when you lose a lot of money, but going back to your question, what are some reasons for diversifying or staying in your lane? Let's talk about that. So, I love Zoom Drain so much. They do drain cleaning, and my recommendation to my franchisees is just do drain cleaning really, really well and keep going, because then you have one set of manuals, you have one training program, you have one truck design. It's easy to scale and go.
Do what you know and do it well.
Do what you know and do it well, just over and over again. Now, suppose you live in a town like Rogersville, Missouri, of 1,000 people. You might have to diversify. I think population is a good reason to diversify. If you are in a really small town being a purist or a specialist, there just might not be enough money. But in most towns, say 250,000 or bigger, I think you could be a specialist and you could own that market, or, work in the direction of owning a department. Like for me, the simpler you make, this is also Jim Abrams, the simpler you make everything, the bigger you can take it, the more money you can make.
Yeah.
So why Now, why would someone diversify? I know some people with just, they don't have the attention span to stick with one thing. They're
Is there
going to
anybody
want
in
to
the
see,
room
can
that
I do it
resembles that
again?
remark?
Look at the two of you looking around.
Oh, what? What was she saying? What? Attention span?
Yeah, the attention span. No, one way is to just scale what you know, boom, boom, boom. That's what franchising is all about. But I also know people who own multiple franchises, right? So they have the capacity. They like that game. So it really is going to be an internal decision as to how you do it. But I would watch for this. I tried this and it doesn't work. I tried drain cleaning. That's not where the money is. Plumbing's where the money is. And now you abandon that and you go to plumbing. Plumbing is a whole different beast. So now we need another manual. We need different licenses. We need training systems. We need 50,000 parts on the truck. You can make money as a plumber, but there is no one ideal niche that's not going to have its own set of, challenges or idiosyncrasies. I like businesses that are not dependent on the weather. I like drain cleaning because it's the essential need, not want. I mean, how bad does the economy have to be before you're going to call a drain cleaner?
That's true. I mean, you
You
got.
know?
I mean, if you're, in fact, we just had this. I went and had to do an estimate because one of my guys was out, and I went there, and they're like, "Hey, my shower's backing up." I was there to look at something else. I'm like, "Ooh, that's a problem." They're like,
Yeah.
well, can't you do anything with it? I said, well, I'm just a handyman, and I'm here just to do an estimate. But yeah, I mean, he's like, we literally can't shower in this shower. I'm like, you're right. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the world stops at that point,
yeah,
and
right.
they'll give blood to make sure that shower goes.
Right, and that had just happened the day I was showing up. That's why this happened. So everything I was there to look at was
did
not.
you stick something in their shower when you were?
Huh? Hey, I'm trying to hey, somebody's got to make a buck somewhere. No, Ellen, I did not do that. I did not do that. All right, please. All
And
right,
we loved the pandemic. People were using their jeans to go to the bathroom. They were using anything and flushing it. The pandemic was very good to drain cleaners when
Oh,
we
that's
couldn't
right.
find toilet paper.
That's
So
right.
yeah,
That was the pandemic, really was. I mean, I didn't realize this entire pandemic was all about, hey, I don't have any toilet paper.
yeah,
I mean,
that
that was
was a big
amazing how
moment.
that thing would shift around. And you drive all over like, hey, I found some at Big Lots. Hurry up, get there.
Yeah, get it all. Yeah. No, so I mean, there are different ways. I would definitely do a little soul searching, and then there are certain businesses too that I wouldn't. Um, Warren Buffett says he doesn't invest in anything he doesn't understand.
That's a great one too.
Mhm.
Isn't that good? And Al
Yeah.
Levy says he always invests in himself and his family.
Yeah.
So
Staying
again,
close
like,
to home. Yeah.
yeah, so like that it just might be another philosophy to operate from. So in other words, like I could probably make really good money if I learned about crypto. I know people who have, but I don't find that personally rewarding. Like I know at the end of the day in the trades, there is solved problems in our wake. There are, survivability's been improved. People are breathing easier. It's cleaner, it's safer, it's healthier. With remodeling, you take something that could be dangerous and make it safe again for people to live, or you're expanding their home to provide for another family, or maybe changes in some family member's life, like they got hurt and now they need accessibility. I mean, there's so much good work that happens in the trades that's why I'm here. Like I know how to make money. I could make money in other businesses, but the trades just appeal to me so much it makes me proud to be part of these industries.
Well, I tell you, we got to wrap this up, and this has been awesome.
Oh,
But
we do.
I know, Ellen, this went so fast, but you're bringing nobility back to the trades because I think you
Aw.
hit on so many really cool things that we talk about. Kind of our we have a mission plaque that we use for our team, but our vision statement is always that we maintain, improve, and elevate customers' lifestyles. And when you think about your home as being the number one asset for many of us, if it's not your financial number one asset, it's definitely your number one emotional asset because that's where you raised your family, where you do that. And you're right. I think a lot of us have a struggle with that, and because society right now, the way they view us, we feel like we're receiving their views negatively, but perhaps the views are changing, especially now that
Mhm.
so many people are outsourcing everything in their home. because a lot of people don't want to do anything in their home. They want to enjoy their families. They're good at what they do, whether it be IT, banking, or logistics. But they'll let us come work on their home now, and they'll be willing to pay for a good service done right, with professional background check guys showing up, calling, telling you they're going to clean up everything. So you've been great, bringing the nobility to the trades. Ellen Rohr, I love this, but we've already touched on your favorite book, but I'm trying to get to
Also, half of our time was spent in technical difficulties. I think that's part of why it went so far.
Right. So if you're up for it, we're going to bring you back because
I would love to. I would love to.
Someday
come back.
I'm gonna find a way to meet you in person because
we'll do it.
I've been trying to find a conference that you were going to. I was going to stalk you and go, Ellen, it's me, it's Chris. Hello, hey. So, but yeah, so that's awesome.
We'll do it.
Yeah, this is awesome. All right, so you hit us with your favorite book, Brunel Brown, Daring Greatly. Love that one. I have not read it all the way through, to be honest with you, because I am ADD, as Ellen has mentioned. So we got to get to the next one. What is the favorite feature of your home? Because you've mentioned a couple things, and I can't wait to hear this answer.
I think I might surprise you. My favorite feature of my home is the proximity to the mountains, to the desert, to southern Utah, I love Utah. I love where I live. And that's probably my favorite thing. I love my home. I'm quite a minimalist. My husband is not. He's quite a pack rat. That's why we have a shop and I have my house. And I love my house. But I love where I live and where my home provides that proximity.
Did you grow up there?
I was born and raised here, and then I've lived a bunch of other places, but we've been back for 3 years, and I'm so happy about it. My son and their baby live here.
So. Wait a minute. That's the real reason.
That's right.
Grandma has
That's right. The proximity to my granddaughter.
Oh, that's the best. All right.
Yeah.
So we're not there yet, and none of us want to be there that quickly. But however,
I'm on watch.
Oh no!
Yeah, my son who likes to hunt and break things is suddenly going, "Oh, that little girl is really cute." So
did he say it in front of Judy?
Yeah.
He's in trouble.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think we're on watch.
Oh, all right. Chris is definitely not on watch. If he gets on watch, it's one of those. Oh, what the hell were you just doing? But I've heard
it's easier when they're older.
Grandkids are way better than kids, right?
You know what? I love my kid. I love my grandkid. I never had a bad day with my kid.
Oh,
my kid is my son's my best friend.
Maybe
I love
that
kids.
off air.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah. Ellen has 3, and one of my kids, especially, I have an older daughter. She's 26, and my son's 23. And when they're both just on a roll, I go, "Boy, I wish I would have had a third. Maybe I would have had when I lived." And my son the other day fired back at me and said, "Dad, I hate it when you say that." I said, "You're 23. Get over it."
Get over it. You can take a joke. I used to tell my son, put yourself up for adoption. And we had a long driveway. So when he started to drive, I said, you can drive to the end of the driveway and leave the keys in the car and then just stand there until someone picks you up.
All right. So check this out. My cousin posted this on Facebook, but you're going to love this. So they disciplined their daughter, and she was supposed to be practicing piano, and she stopped. And they said, well, if you're not going to, and she went to her room and she started on the phone or doing whatever kids do today, electronic. And they said, if you're going to not practice the piano, we're taking that away. So here's what she did. She started doing sticky notes and started putting everything for sale. And then she wrote, she said, this is this much, this is this much. She put sticky notes on all of her stuff in her bedroom. And then she wrote a note, said, I am leaving. You can have all this stuff. Good luck. And they found her walking down the driveway with a backpack. Isn't that the best?
My goodness. I love that so much.
Oh,
yeah. So that sounds like a pretty clever kid. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. So we don't talk about this a lot lately, but we need to get back on an episode of this. But we love customer service. We know you do because we are customer service
freaks.
All right, let's talk about it. What is a customer service pet peeve of yours when you're out there in the marketplace?
When they say no, say yes and. Even if you don't do the work, yes, I can hear that you need that done. And I know a great drain cleaner who can help you with that clogged shower.
Dude, that's improv all day long. That's
all
yes
day
and.
long.
You know, if you've ever had to do any training in improv, you can never say no. You
it's
always have
yes
to
and.
Oh, I love
it's
that.
yes and. But yes, I hear you.
I actually have
You
not.
took an improv?
I did. I actually did. I did not take the full class.
You got thrown out of the class.
I
didn't
did,
you? 'Cause
actually.
you you were too.
You would be great
was-
at improv.
I was improv all over. They're like, that's
Yeah.
enough of that. This
They're
guy's
like,
got to go.
But yes, and
it's
just
a
say
little too
yes.
much.
I hear you. And then what's my next step? I've got a number for you. I know someone you can call. I can help you. There's always something we can do to help. And those relationships are so valuable. I'm sure you have great referral relationships with other contractors. Yes, and I know just the guy. Let me get you in touch. That when they say no or I don't know, it's just an inappropriate answer.
Yeah, especially
That
in the
makes
home.
me a
You,
little
you actually hit
bananas.
on, yeah, that drives me nuts because, again, though, as tradesmen, if we don't know something, we wear it on our sleeve and we go, no, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You're like, no, don't. As a sales guy, I'm there. No, don't say that. Say this. Wait. We can't do it. Hang on.
Yeah.
All right. And
All right. And then I know you guys have to take off. I do too, but can we do this again?
we
I
gotta
would
do
love
this again.
to.
Ellen,
I
you've
would
got to
love
come
to.
back.
I've
You'd make
enjoyed
time for
this.
us?
Stay in our
15,
orbit,
15
Ellen.
minutes?
Yes.
You're my new best friends.
Hey, we did it. All right, Ellen, this has
Thanks,
been
Chris.
awesome.
Thanks, Alan.
Guys, you've been great. Let's get out of here. Make it happen, everybody.
Cheers, everybody.
Keep going up that mountain. Let's make it a big day. Go make it happen, Adventure
Yay.
Team.